Yeah, what's good, everybody? It's the last Messiah, and once more for another video for y'all, man. Hey, I got a deep one for y'all today, right? And remember, I told y'all that you will always find out the keys to unlocking the New Testament if you just read the Old Testament. It'll basically expose Jesus for the fraud he is if all you do is read it. Now, I'm not saying that as to be in a bashful way, but to only expose the false doctrine of the New Testament. Listen, in this video, I'm going to explain who the Messiah from the Old Testament was. Yeah, I said it right. The Messiah that came already in the Old Testament. See, when I first came to do this video early this morning, I was just going to drop the Messiah from the Old Testament. But I also was doing some reading of the scriptures this morning, and I found more robbing of the Old Testament to formulate this Jesus story. But first, I'm going to deal with who the Messiah was in the Old Testament. Okay, everybody grab your Bibles, and I want y'all to find Isaiah 44, verse 28. I mean, you can read the previous verses before that if you want to, so you don't think I'm being misleading and trying to pick out specific verses just to mislead people. So okay, so I want y'all to read the previous verses, and I want you to stop at Isaiah 44 verse 28 where it say, Cyrus, this is the Lord speaking now, Cyrus, my shepherd, who will fulfill all my pleasures. And he will say to Jerusalem, let it be built. And as to the temple, listen, man, he is telling you that Cyrus was the person that he ordained to be the Messiah to return the Jews back to Israel and build a temple for them to live in peace and harmony. Because Cyrus wrote a decree to let the Jews go and to let them live out in harmony for people not to mess with them, bro. So, and he was a war general because he did this by conquering the people that had Israel under oppression. And everybody in that time bowed down to Cyrus because he was kicking ass. Now y'all tell me that ain't the Messiah. Now we can even go to chapter 45, where he say, thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I've holden. Come on, man. Listen, man. That's the facts of the matter, man. Now, if y'all don't want to believe that, go to Zechariah. Turn to Zechariah, man. And when you turn to Zechariah, when they start discussing the building of the temple, right? And Zechariah say, the Lord came to him, right? And told him that they were supposed to go to a dude named Josedek, right? And he had a son. You know what I'm saying? Josedek was the high priest, and he had a son named Joshua. Listen, man, Jesus or Yeshua or whatever that means, Jesus, or Jesus is a translation of that. So all of that means Joshua, man. And he was a high priest, and they put gold on him, and he was the first person to try to reestablish and build a temple. You feel me? And he was supposed to rule over that temple. This is what Zechariah says, man. So when Jesus came along, this is why Joshua or Jesus was born from a man of Joseph, because Josedek ain't nothing but a variation of the name Joseph. And there you have it. The whole verse, a whole chapter of Zechariah speaks about Josedek, this high priest, and his son building the temple and ruling over it. So now you come to the New Testament, the angel comes down to a man named Joseph, you know what I'm saying, and tell him that he gonna have a son whose name gonna be the Messiah, and boom, his name end up Jesus. Come on, man, they keep robbing the Old Testament, man. They have no foundation without the Old Testament, man. All you got to do is just peep the play, man. 100.